I think the first question that I'm going to ask everyone here is, how many people think of Terminator when they think of AI? Can you raise your hand? Okay, so it's interesting. As we talked about NEM, the Terminator sort of analogy is so synonymous with AI and the progression that we're seeing with things that it's an integral amount and component of the consciousness around all the developments that are happening around us. Do you guys think it's in bad taste that I actually wore a Skynet t-shirt?
I think that's awesome.
It's perfect.
It's a perfect thing for the day. So anyway, my name is Max Einhorn. I'm a strategic advisor to the film and television distribution company FilmRise. For the last year, I have been an AI content creator and have been having a lot of fun generating, short films and little mini documentaries, and had the pleasure to meet Perez and these other filmmakers on stage with me, Matt Wenhardt, as well as Reza, Safai. And today we are going to do a deep dive into how our scenes were created. So if you are someone that is very curious about how to use Gen AI to make movies and also integrate it as part of the production process, get a notebook out, get your pen out, because we are going to be taking you step by step as to how we constructed our scenes. I would have paid so much money to experience a talk like this at the beginning of the process so that someone would help me along. But you stand on the shoulders of each other, right? We went through this process, fun and painful at the same time, but mostly fun. So we can teach and we can evangelize that Gen AI really does have a role in the filmmaking and the production process. So without further ado, we're going to play the trailer for the film, and then I'm going to turn it over to Nem to give a proper introduction as to how the whole project came together. Let's roll the trailer.
Get to the chopper, baby. And they say AI can't do hands.
My boobies can dance better than you, asshole.
Can mimic any object it touches within reason.
Basically, it's a glorified shape-shifting spork.
More along the lines of inflammable dildos and rubber duckies.
Yeah, give it up to our T2 Remake. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Perez. I am a traditional commercial film director here in Los Angeles. And, I started my AI journey about, I want to say a year ago. And for me, it started with this idea of how can we use these tools to empower ourselves and create these ideas for stories that may never see the light of day without the help of AI, right? And so I made a trailer for a movie, and then I got involved in the community, and within the community, I saw all these amazing trailers that these other artists were doing. And for me, the question that we kept asking ourselves is when is someone going to make a feature film with these tools? And so we decided to go ahead and make a feature film with these tools, right? And when it came down to what is that film, my head instantly went to Terminator, because, we've seen in the media, a lot of people like to paint this negative picture about AI and how Skynet's gonna take over the world and it's gonna destroy everyone, no one's gonna have a job. And I really wanted to showcased the opposite, which was more true to what we were experiencing. And that was this amazing community of creators that for the first time were making movies. And that was the purpose of making this feature, was to really highlight the community and just really highlight the creativity behind the work that we were doing. So that's how our T2 remake was born. And we premiered it in Los Angeles. There you go. So there's some photos from the premiere. So I think that this is a really good case study for how, I know there's a lot of legal issues, by the way. This was a parody, non-commercial project, just purely for experimental reasons. But I think that, once we get past that hurdle of, the whole copyright issues, this movie could serve for a good case study for how it could be done. As you can see, we had like merchandising even. We printed T-shirts, which were a big hit. We weren't selling any of this, by the way. We had stickers, trailers, posters. Really, now we're getting distribution. It's really just a good case study for what could be done with these tools, and that's what we set out to do. And yeah.
Nem, can you quickly just talk about how you organized the 50 filmmakers around the world? That was really an important facet of the project and making sure that it all worked cohesively?
Yeah, so the whole approach for this film was really novel in the sense that we did sort of like an exquisite corpse framework, if you will, where essentially, if one artist does scene one, the next artist will continue on where that last artist left off, and then so on and so forth. And by the way, this was inspired by a project that came out a little over 10 years ago called Our RoboCop Remake, which was also a crowdsourced film that a bunch of filmmakers got together and they each recreated an individual scene from the movie so that when it all came together, it created one cohesive piece. And the way that we coordinated it, like you said, we had artists from all around the world, 50 artists from all around the world. So there was a few parts to it. The first part was distributing the scenes. And the way that we did that was we opened up a web store so that Monday morning, 7 a.m., everyone can go on this web store and purchase their scene for free, and then now they've secured that scene. Prior to that, we all had a Zoom call where we discussed the rules, which were like, you can't use anything from the original movie, everything has to be unique, transformative, parody, all these things. And then once we got into production, we actually used Discord so that every artist had a room that they can showcase their work. It was a very real-time collaborative effort so that we were bouncing ideas off each other. I'll show a little bit about that later. But basically the mix of Zoom, Discord, and the web store just made this whole process seamless. And I've been a film director for over 20 years, and I've never worked on anything like this. So I think it's a really cool case study for how it could be done.
Excellent. So what we're going to now do is dive into each of our scenes and walk through the production process. So we are actually going to start with my scene.
Will the lights go down? No.
No, they won't,
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Oh my god, I'm so horny. Stick a finger in it.
What?
Nothing?
Do you know what you're doing, bro?
I have detailed files in human anatomy.
I'll bet. Makes you a more effective lover, or efficient killer. What are you doing, John?
Making a TikTok.
Correct. What is a tic-tac?
Okay, Boomernator. Yo! You good, bro?
I sense injuries. That could be called pain.
Sick name for a band. No cap.
Will these heal up?
Yes. Ouchie.
If you can't pass for human, you won't do much good to me. I mean, us.
How much juice you got? I ain't got no phone charger.
120 years on my existing power cell.
Deadass. Can you learn so you can be, not an NPC?
My GPU handles the deep learning calculations for my large language model. The more contact I have with humans,
Oh,
the more I learn. I also have 4 USB ports.
Wig. Think, bro.
We need to get as far away from the city as possible.
Meow. Wait, Mom. I finna jump from this car if the simp don't stop.
keep it under 65.
How about under 69?
Duh, I have been fucked since 1984.
Affirmative.
No. You gotta listen to the way people talk. You can't say affirmative or some shit like that. You say that. Then if someone comes off to you with an attitude, you say, what's good, bro? Or if you want to shine them on, you say, hasta la vista, baby.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Yeah, or don't get all butthurt. Or if someone makes a mistake, say, ruh-roh. Or you could do a combination.
Ruh-roh. Don't get all butthurt.
Straight by saying, for real.
Bed.
Oh, I love Italian food.
Ruh-roh. Don't get all butthurt.
Go, Dad.
All right. If I would have known that I would be sitting on a panel in front of a group of people, I would have probably wrote out the vibrator moment. But what are you going to do? As I said before, I got into the Gen AI content creation thing in the beginning of 2023. Nem had actually reached out to me on Twitter. By the way, if you are very interested in being involved in the Gen AI space and becoming part of the slipstream of information and knowing all the tools that are coming out and what people are trying, et cetera, get on Twitter, get on X, effectively. I'm on there. All my colleagues here, all my peers are on here. So I would really, really encourage it if you would like to stay in the moment on things. So the approach to my scene was a little different than what some of the others that worked on the film was. I really started with the script and thought, gee, what's an interesting and compelling way to update this? So we made Sarah really simp the Terminator, and I thought it'd be funny if John Connor was sort of a contemporary, Gen Z TikTok lover. So that's how this process really, how it evolved. And what was really important to me was keeping the spirit of the overall narrative of the film throughout the scene. Nem really encouraged us to bring a parody-like approach to the whole thing, but this particular sequence really always held the most humanity in the movie to me, amongst a few other scenes. But the Terminator is stitching up Sarah, and Sarah is stitching up the Terminator. So there's a real moment of bonding that's happening, as well as the sequence that follows where John is in the car with the Terminator and teaching him how to talk and say, hasta la vista, baby. It's certainly one of the most iconic moments of the movie. So I was a little less interested in completely reinventing what happened in that sequence because of how really important it is for the characters. But I think I found a relatively creative way to actually update it. So there was a very human element of this process at this phase in my scene. Next was the image generation process. So I used tools such as Midjourney and Photoshop to manipulate a lot of the images that I was generating. And at the time, this was September of 2023, Midjourney allowed you to do certain things such as in-paint on the specific image. So if somebody had 6 fingers, or if somebody had, an extra arm, or maybe the look of the character wasn't quite right, rather than having to generate a new image from scratch, you could circle a specific area on the image, type out a whole new prompt, and then it would generate a new segment of that image, which really helps a lot for consistency and character control. Photoshop rolled out a feature around this time called generative fill, and they've been making it better to this day. And that similarly allows you to isolate a component of the image, an area of the image, and basically tweak it. It also allows you to do things like expand the image and generate either more area to fit an aspect ratio, or maybe there's just some element of the image that you wanted to be corrected. So that was a pretty important process. Following that, there was the video generation process, for which I used Pika Labs, which is a video generator that's accessible to everyone right now. And you would take the images from Midjourney, bring them into Pika, and then you could use a text prompt to guide the direction of the movement that would happen. So if it was the establishing shot of the garage, you would load in the image of the exterior and say, okay, camera, move right. And that's how you got what that tracking shot actually looked like. The second sequence of my film used a different approach. That's when they're in the car. And I used a tool called Runway, and specifically the tool called Gen 1. What Gen 1 does is it takes a temporal consistency process and allows you to transmit, or effectively transform, I think is a better word, the appearance of one video into something brand new. So what I actually did was I set up my iPhone in my garage in my car and had a green screen right behind me, and I performed both roles. I performed both John Connor and the Terminator, and just effectively played the scene as if the other person was there. And then I took that footage, brought it into Runway, brought in a reference image of what the character should look like with a companion text prompt, and out came the way that John Connor and the Terminator looks in that sequence. In terms of pulling it all together, I used Soundly, which is just a free app that includes like a large sound library, and then traditionally built a sound design and then mixed everything. And then everything was edited together in Premiere Pro. There were a few other tools that were used throughout the process, such as WAV to Lip, which is a open source notebook that allows you to sync the lips of a character in an image or a video with sound. So you upload them separately and then they're stitched together. As well as a tool called Swap Face. And what that allows you to do is, if you do not have the look of your character in a specific image or video, you can separately upload the image of another person, and it will, like Face Off, swap the faces. So it's a really useful tool for character consistency. That's it for the overview of my scene. We're going to move on to the next one, which is Matt Wenhardt's scene.
Chet Thompson here with a Channel N90 News breaking report. A truck full of liquid nitrogen seems to be chasing a pickup truck on the freeway, leaving behind flames and destruction. Our eye in the sky is almost at the scene. Ben, can you see anything yet?
Affirmative, Chet. We're almost on top of it. What I'm seeing is less normal traffic and more explosive action movie.
Thanks, Ben. We are now getting a call from an eyewitness. Hello? Are you there? Can you tell us what you saw?
Yeah. This is Bob, and I was driving my company's pickup truck, which now has been stolen.
Bob, that's quite a story.
It was like a sci-fi movie, Chet. I pull up to this flip cop car barbecue, and out hobbles this lady and kid, followed by a dude who looked like a microwave and a toaster had a baby.
Bob, hold that thought. We have another eyewitness. You're on the air.
Hello, Chet, call me T. I'm the guy currently borrowing Bob's truck on the freeway. First, big sorry to Bob. Needed your wheels for something a bit more urgent than lawn care.
Hello, is my truck okay?
Your truck is playing a key role in a little dance I'm having with an advanced killer robot. He's in the gas truck and has the worst road rage I've seen. I must keep this brief. Say hasta la vista to your truck, Bob.
Chet, it's total mayhem down here. The semi just did a belly flop that would score a perfect 10 in the Olympics of chaos. And it's spilling its guts out. Liquid nitrogen turning the freeway into a skating rink. This is one cool disaster.
Folks, it's not your everyday spill. We're talking liquid nitrogen acrobatics on the freeway. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after a quick word from Bolgol Landscaping. They're the magicians you need when your backyard's as wild as this freeway fiasco.
Blowing alarms under the sun. Over the 17 Training edges going grass with all those touch your lungs crushed pies. All the schlaus in garbage from what age and I. Yeah. Follow goes landscaping the backyard magicians.
Amazing.
Gives you an idea how weird this movie is. I definitely recommend like watching it on a substance maybe, or yeah, it's very...
I was 100% sober when I made that, so... thank you. My name is Matthew Wenhardt, and I'm a Gen AI filmmaker. I got into Gen AI probably about 2023 too, and this was kind of my first project really getting into it, so I was just still learning the tools and kind of going through the process. But I'll kind of walk you through at least how I kind of came up and my workflow with it. Everyone here is familiar with ChatGPT? Yeah? Does anyone ever use it in their workflow or writing process? Okay, awesome. Yeah, it works really great. You know, I kind of let it go freely with this. I came up with the basic concept, kind of gave it, you know, running time, and we worked together. I kind of call it my consultant. And by fine-tuning the prompts, we're able to complete the script. One thing that I really like about GPT, I don't know if any of you guys do it, but instead of just asking for one answer, I'll usually give it a number. And that kind of just gives me a multitude of selections. Especially when you're a one-man band, it's kind of hard. You know, you don't have a sounding board, you don't have a team that you can bounce ideas off of, so it's really nice. So from there, we had the script. Does anyone use GPT for prompting, for text to image? Anyone? Okay. Well, if you don't, I will tell you it is a great tool to at least get a base prompt. You can actually, you know, I took the script and asked it to write out base prompts for me, and it did a really good job, and that was kind of the next step of the process, was to take those prompts and run them through in Leonardo and Midjourney. Now, here's one issue that I had. Since I had free reign kind of over the styling of my scene, I kind of got a little bit crazy with it. I wanted to change it. I wanted to create a rap video, then country, then even a boy band, 80s rock, and then Batman. Yeah, I really wanted to do that too. And then, as you can see, Star Wars, but I came in a second wave. There was a first wave of artists already working, and I came in with kind of a limited time, so I kind of had to change it up. So on the right is a few of the generations. If you have experience with text to image, it takes time, especially if you want to kind of get those fine details and get that look that you're looking for. So I kind of call it prompt roulette. You know, I'm sitting there generating, maybe making a change to a token or a keyword, changing the structure, and yeah, it's not a one-shot prompt. It really does take a lot of time to get what you're looking for. So I just wanted to show, you know, it's a process, and I kind of enjoy that process because eventually you will get what you're looking for. And I'll be able to, you know, save that prompt for future too and change the structure or change the tokens to reuse too. The next step was taking those images, kind of like Max hit on. I used Pika Labs and Runway. If you use Pika Labs, anyone here use Pika Labs? Okay. Do you guys use the negative prompts? Negative prompting in Pika Labs is huge. You're basically saying, I don't want this to show. So if you don't use it, please do. It saved me a lot of time. And then the other thing too is, if I sometimes struggle with the prompt writing for the action for when I'm using these video generators. So what I'll do is I'll actually take my images and throw them into GPT, and I'll say, explain it to me like I'm 5. And it works so well. If you don't do that, there's another tip to use, definitely. These, you can be a little bit more detailed with Midjourney, Leonardo, etc. But when you're dealing with these video generators, keep it simple and straight to the point. And like I said, in Pika, use your negative prompts. It's really huge. Oh, all right, so the other thing that I did too was, you heard Arnold sing. I just kind of really wanted to do something off the wall with that. And in that specific scene in the movie, they do steal a truck from a gentleman who has a landscaping company. So I was like, you know what, this might be a perfect time to have the newscasters send off to their sponsor, which is that landscaping company. So I used Suno AI, which is awesome. I created the song in there and played a little bit of prompt roulette with it, but once I got that actual song, I needed to have Arnold sing it. So I converted the whole music track into stems, which separated out the music from the vocals. And then from there, I used 11 Labs and created a custom model of an Arnold-style voice. I was then able to take that vocal track, upload it with the speech-to-speech option in 11 Labs, and I was able to get Arnold to sing. So it's kind of nice. You know, that's one thing I wish was, you know, in the future maybe integrated in, but yeah, you can actually change out your the singing voice, you know, by following that workflow, which is really cool. Kind of the same way that Max did his lip sync, I used something called Sync Labs, which was really, really cool. Same kind of process, and also too, the other thing I used was in 11 Labs, the text-to-speech option with a couple of the stock voices for the newscasters' voices. But with Sync Labs, I took my video clip, took the audio clip, uploaded, then it actually gave me a lip sync out. The final step was taking it all together, and as a lot of you probably already use, I used Adobe Premiere to finish it off. So yeah, that's pretty much my workflow. Here's kind of a high-level overview. So ChatGPT, Leonardo AI, Midjourney, Pika, Runway, Suno, Sync Labs, 11 Labs, and Premiere. Now, I will tell you, I've learned a lot, and that was kind of my, you know, first style video. So there's a lot of things that have changed now, and I definitely would change my workflow. The limitations of movement still is there, so I'd probably go live action and do some sort of style transfer via Comfy UI or LensGo or Kyber or something like that. But yeah, I think it's a fun piece, and I was just honored to be able to work with creative people, and yeah, thank you.
Yeah, one thing to note is we started production on this movie in August of 2023. And that was about, I think, like a month and a half after Runway premiered their video model. So think about how, like in AI days, that was like years ago, right? Think about how like early we were. So we recruited artists in 2 batches, and you'll see it in the movie. Some scenes are very crude, but we still wanted to keep it in there. And some scenes are more advanced because they're using the newer models, the newer techniques. And we kept it all in there because we saw this movie as a love letter to AI. We wanted to see like the evolution of AI in the movie. So that's what he means when he says that he was part of the second batch of artists.
Get ready to take your substance.
All right, let's roll Reza's scene.
Oh shit, our AI movie is suffering from a severe case of existential blue screen. That is not fantastic, but don't worry. We have backup for algorithm meltdown. Let's go old school. Play the film projector.
hopefully you could see some of that. I know it was dark. I like that they turned it off at the end, but so I will say, I guess I still need to keep this. So I got into AI, just to give you a little background, and then I got into AI during the strikes, the actors' strike. I'm in this and SAG-AFTRA, and I grew up around technology. I grew up in Palo Alto. My dad was in HB Labs. He invented a lot of stuff, so I was always around it. I was interested in using it for art. And I was not afraid of using AI or getting into it. I was really interested, and props to the algorithm, because while I was on strike, I was watching more YouTube, and the algorithm brought Theoretically Media's video, and he started talking about Pika, and I was like, oh, what's this? And so I joined I didn't have a Discord. I didn't even know what Discord was. I thought maybe it was just something my kids would do, and I got on there, and I got into Pika, and they had this like daily, and I really recommend this to anyone who's just starting to get into this now, because there's so many tools, and when I started, there weren't that many, and so you got to really learn one tool thoroughly, and you can just kind of have almost paralysis, I think creative paralysis by just, I'm going to try this tool, this tool, this tool. So I got into Pika, and I really recommend, I just started doing their daily themes. They'd have this daily contest. And it was, and I actually, even this one, I have a small iPhone, and I only, I generated all my images and videos and all the stuff I would do, and I would do my editing on CapCut on this. At night, when my kids and my wife were asleep, but there was something kind of immediate and fast and quick about it, and I could just do something, and there was a deadline, and I always need deadlines, and so it was really cool. Actually, I ended up winning a lot of their Pika contests, and the moderators at the time told me that they're changing the rules because you and this other guy are winning too many times, and it's not cool. We need to allow other people, but that got me into. I was the first person that through these contests that got into their super collaborator program, and then I met some other people, and then they said, "Dude, you got to go to X," like Max was saying, and I wasn't on X at all, and they said you got to check out people's work, and I started posting on there, and then. Kudos to the algorithm again. I wasn't friends with Nem, and I saw like a post that he had that they were looking for this next round of artists, and I hit up a couple friends of mine. I'm like, dude, tell him about me. Like, you've seen my work, and then he reached out and he saw the work, and I'm really grateful to come, be part of this. But traditionally, I'm a traditional filmmaker. I've produced and acted and written a lot of different budget range, big budget indie films and low budget. But again, with this, my process was, to get back to this, it was like I saw, when he was talking about that Discord and breaking it down in terms of all the scenes and how that there was a room for each scene. So when I got invited, a lot of these were done, and I started looking at them, and I'm like, holy shit, man! Like they've created everything from video games, and I'm like, what can I do to add to this? And I think one of the big, things that I also tell people that I think if you want to do AI that you'll have an advantage over other people is just storytelling, your ability to tell a story. Because you can learn the technical tools, but storytelling is kind of why we, do this. So I was like, wouldn't it be funny and crazy if you made, T2 as a silent movie? So let me tell you a little bit my process. And again, as Nem was saying, these are really old tools, and we would, as Matt was saying, that there would be a different approach to this stuff today. So what I did for this, because Nem said, we need this in 4K, and my phone would die every time I was trying to output it on 4K, because I would just normally do their 720 or 1080. So I paid the $10 for the month to get CapCut Pro, and then it sent, so I was able to just send the project out to my old laptop. I gotta stand up here so I can see this. So yeah, I mean, one thing that a lot of people don't understand, and maybe I'm preaching to the converted or something, but there's a lot of, and it's already been discussed, but there's a lot of trial and error, and then obviously you still have to edit and break down and do sound design and everything, and it's always, sometimes when people see these films, they just assume that there was like 3 or 4 prompts that just got you this thing, and it doesn't really work that way. So that's the timeline, and I did a lot of, so this was where were we on? We were like Mid-Journey 5 or something at that point? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was really difficult for me. I mean, I would prompt differently today, and I have a system of how I go about doing it that I've just kind of developed over time, and of things that have worked and how to tell the story. And actually now the way I prompt with Mid-Journey really reads it where you almost tell it a story, and I think it works really well, and you get really specific with the story. But this was a lot of trial and error. Some of it's really obvious, right? Like I just give a couple examples, but Linda Hamilton in a tank top. And I would actually also composite, some of them, because I do individually and then put them together and then use Pika to animate them, the stills. Influenced by H.R. Geiger today, like I would probably just say, in the style of a surreal dystopia, because that's basically what I wanted from H.R. Geiger. And circuitry. Manticore is, there's this kind of like lion-esque vibe to Linda Hamilton's hair. And Manticore is like I'm an Iranian American, and I love, Persian culture, and there's a old Persian animal that's like, part man, part woman, part lion, and that's what Manticore is. So I wanted to kind of get that vibe, and it worked. Again, it doesn't work every time, but it worked for that. And I just found that somehow saying cinematic a lot really helps with giving the kind of image that we were looking for this. And sometimes I'll repeat it because it if it's had too much information, it kind of it does something where it realizes, whoa, this is really important to this person. The other stuff I think is kind of obvious in terms of, so it says dark blue and amber lighting, I did it obviously all in color first, just the kind of way that you would shoot a black and white movie today. It's like you do in color and then you do the black and white in post. This, actually, believe it or not, this for the titles, the silent titles, was like one of the hardest for me to get. I don't know why. Every time I prompted, it would just give the weirdest thing. I didn't really understand it, but somehow the empty space was the thing that opened it up for it. And also actually the chalk, I wanted it to kind of have this feeling I was actually watching my kids do some chalk drawings on the sidewalk, and I was like, oh, maybe we need to add that to this. So that's just a little bit example of that. Oh, and then this is me as the Terminator, and I have an acting background, and I really wanted to do my own Arnold's voice, even though we had this amazing Arnold impersonator do the voices for the other stuff. So what I actually did is, I don't know, probably most of you haven't seen this, but there was this SNL skit with, it was I want to pump you up. So I basically, what I did is I had fun, and I'd go record the sound on my phone in a closet where it was really quiet. And I just started riffing, pretending, whatever it was I was seeing, doing it as those characters. And then I took that recording and then ran it through, trained 11 labs on my voice, and then did the dialogue, but then the timbre of it wasn't right. And CapCut just had this really kind of simple, normally I would do it in Premiere or, some sort of sound thing, but just to take it an octave down, and that was the sweet spot. It really sounded like Arnold. And And then I think that's it for me. I mean, I'm trying to think anything else that I would, I would just add, because I know I spoke to some people right before this that are interested in getting into this space and making AI films for the first time, who are directors and writers. I would say, like, one important thing I would want to leave with you is, when you're on a movie set, sometimes magic happens that's accidental. So an actor will do something that you didn't think of, and you're like, oh my God, I'm so glad we captured this. This is incredible. Working with AI is the same way. I find that, like, trying to force it into exactly what it is that you want isn't necessarily the best approach, but that when you have a relationship with the AI, sometimes it'll give you something that you didn't think about, but use it as everything that I haven't finished with AI, the shorts that I've started, the ones that I haven't finished were the ones that I was really trying with the script that I wrote to make it exactly like it, and I couldn't get it to be there. But then once I kind of freed that up and just had this improvisational kind of, rapport with it, and just treat it as another talent that's working with me, and going with, like, oh, this is actually really cool. What if I kind of change it like that? It seems to work better. Thank you.
Leave room for chaos when you're working with Gen AI. And these days, you actually can do a physical storyboard on your own, turn it into an AI image, and then animate it. When we were making this film, that actually was not possible. So working with a shot list actually made a lot of sense, as opposed to a storyboard, because you're leaving room for that interpretation. We're going to finish with Nem, who has a really interesting scene.
Yeah, so my scene was scene 41, and like I said earlier, I'm a traditional film director. I like working with actors. My workflow is a little bit different. I mean, we're all different, but I like to incorporate real actors into my AI work, because you'll see in a bit, but my scene is towards the end of the movie, if anyone's seen Terminator, and it's the final showdown between the T-800 and the T-1000. So that was a very physical scene between these two characters, and AI struggles a lot with interaction. And I thought that the best way to do that was with real actors. So you'll see in a little bit, I'll do a little bit of a deep dive, but just to give you a little bit of background of the inspiration, I grew up in the 90s. I loved video games. I loved violent video games. I loved Mortal Kombat. And so that, I think, like, injecting a bit of yourself in these stories, like everyone else has, is so important. And I really encourage that with all of the artists. And so this next scene is my scene.
Let's kill the house lights again.
Ready? Fight! Finish him!
Fatality. Flawless victory.
I think I had the shortest scene in the whole movie, actually. So I actually did two scenes. I did the opening scene, which was a lot of, like, text to video. And then I did this scene, which was working with actors. So I played both characters in that scene. And then you'll see here a little bit of how I accomplished that. So I shot myself on a green screen as Arnold and as the T-1000. And I approached it the way that they did when they created the original Mortal Kombat, which was when they created the original Mortal Kombat, they shot real actors on a green screen, and then they created these sprites. So I essentially recreated every interaction, like the uppercut or the falling, and then I generated these sprites and then animated all of that in After Effects. And then all of the backdrops, all of that was generated in Midjourney, and then the characters were put through a diffusion through Kyber to make them look more like video game-esque, right? And I wanted also to show everyone sort of like a peek into what our Discord server looked like. So as you can see on the very left, you know, everyone had their own scenes. So I can go into anyone's scenes and then just take a peek into what they're doing and even send some encouragement. So like when I first started my scene, I started throwing some hints as to what I was doing, and then everyone else chimed in, and you know, like they were like, you know, let's do this. This is going to be amazing. And then like we would all sort of like give ideas or like inspiration, like maybe you should do this or this. I think like I don't know how it happened, but the director of our T2 remake was James Macaroon. Like I don't know who came. I forget who came up with that.
I think it was Able Art.
Yeah, it was Able maybe. And then like so we started coming up with like story, like just organically, you know, like the meaning of all this. Like instead of Skynet, it was like ChatGPT at a certain point, right? So this is the Discord server. This is me shooting on a green screen. By the way, just a really, really fun fact, right? Terminator 2 was the most expensive movie made for its time in 1992. Our movie cost $0. So that's a really interesting fact because, you know, now we can all make movies. There's really, really no excuse. Okay, so here's a little bit of a deeper dive into one of the shots, right? So like I said, I played all of the characters in the movie. This is a breakdown of a very specific shot. So as you can see, this is me in a leather jacket. And then I ran a deep fake to make myself look more like Arnold. And then I created the plates, the backgrounds, for the shot using Runway and Magnific. And then I reinserted myself, and then I ran a diffusion on top of that using Kyber. So for those of you who are familiar, this is pretty standard, pretty typical of a standard visual effects workflow. It just happened way, way faster, and the results were pretty incredible. After that, I did a little bit of compositing work, and then a final color pass with all of the effects. So I think, yeah, so that's pretty much like my breakdown. My friend at this scene, he volunteered to play the T-1000 because we had two people in one scene. So yeah, and then this is a little bit of my workflow. So I like to use ChatGPT, like the other side here, as a co-writer, right? Like I don't like to just give me all the ideas because honestly, like most of them suck anyways. So it's good to just use ChatGPT as like a junior writer, like a co-writer. It's just someone or a thing that you can like bounce these ideas off of, right? And then from there, you know, you use Midjourney for your images. For me, you know, like I said, I'm a director. I like to use natural language in my prompts. So for instance, you know, I like to describe it the way that I would in my shot list where I say, give me a low angle, wide angle shot, close up, you know, cinematic with low key lighting, you know, add some practical lights in the background, you know, so that's how I like to prompt. I like to prompt it the way that I would talk to my cinematographer, which I think is really, really valuable. So I think that like, if you can direct, I think that you can prompt because you're really just sort of directing the AI. From there, it goes to Runway. So those still images turn into video. And then it gets upscaled in Topaz. So for those of you who don't know, Runway, I think, gives you 720p, sometimes 1080p. And I really wanted to master this movie in 4K. And the best way to do that right now is using Topaz Labs. to upscale it. 11 Labs was used for some of the voiceover work, but one thing that I didn't explain was I really wanted to, again, I really love working with actors. I really love working with talent. And personally, I think that actors aren't going anywhere. I think that AI is just going to be a different way of doing things. It's not going to be the only way. And I still personally think that working with talent is the best way. So we hired a Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonator to redub a lot of this movie because he was just so good, and he added like his own voice to the movie. And then you could do DID for lip sync. And then the music, now this has evolved. This is a little bit old, but now people use like Udio for music, Suno for music, which are like these AI generators that can create a completely new track using AI. But I had used MusicBed and then Envato for some of the sound design elements and things like that. So yeah, that was my scene 41. Thank you.
Nice. Oh, can I just add one thing?
Sure.
Which is, as people are interested in going on X, I want to say that I've never experienced so much kindness. The AI art community and filmmaking community, they are so kind. And you're going to discover that just coming in and asking questions and stuff. So that's an added bonus.
Yeah, and that's what this whole project was about. It was all about community. It was like, how can we all come together to make something that was bigger than all of us, And yeah, I'm with you, man. Like the community was just so embracing. It was that Discord server was like our safe space, while the rest of the world was talking about Skynet, right? That was the whole point. We were in our Discord server making magic, right? And the whole movie was about highlighting us as creators and the community.
Excellent. Neb, tell everyone where they can watch our T2 remake right now in full length.
Yeah, so you can watch it, learn all about it at t2remake.com. We released 2 documentaries about the making of the movie because I thought it was really important for people to understand how these movies were made. Because there's so many misconceptions about this. I think that a lot of people think that you press a button, out comes a movie. And I think that as these tools become more and more artificial, it's really, really important to show the humanity behind these creations. So go to t2remake.com, check out the documentaries, check out the making of, and you can watch the full-length feature on that website as well, t2remake.com.
Excellent. I think we have 15, 20 minutes until the next panel. Do folks have questions? Because I think what I'll do is I'll come out to you and we'll mic your question. I'm going to start back there. And then my peers up here can answer based on who they think is best. So, all right, get my exercise for the day. Hello, sir.
Hi. Thanks for this. My name is Rick. My question is, how do you deal with tone in working with AI? I mean, the earlier one that had the silent frames had a nice, funny feeling to it. I wondered how that gets processed in, or is that something that comes from the human-AI interaction?
Go ahead, guys.
Thank you for that question. I think tone is very important. I think it's a decision that has to be made, whether you're going to go back and forth between tone or have one tone, but creative decision certainly has to be made. In terms of, I think it's the human element. I mean, you are in charge of what the tone is going to be, So, from the outset, like you heard me talking about it, I mean, I just thought it was, going to be pretty funny, especially like in relating to sound effects and the violence of today and the language, but then doing it as a silent film, but still maintaining all those things. That juxtaposition was something I knew would be funny, but also uniform. But I think you're really in charge of the tone because you can set not only the look, the costumes, the pacing, the music, which all the mise en scène, as we say in cinema, like all that is you're able to create with AI, and so you are in charge of the tone.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think that the tone is the most human part that you can add to your creations, right? The AI is just going to give you a set of images. The AI is just going to give you a set of videos. Or the AI, it's your job as a film director, as a storyteller, to dictate the tone of the thing that you're making.
And editing plays a huge part in that, you know. I have a background in editing, so that kind of comes naturally to me. But also, you know, as we're creating things, you know, we just did this, I don't know if you guys are going to come, hopefully you'll come, but we just did this 48-hour challenge, you know, of making this movie, these shorts. And I just think, you know, sometimes like someone's got a different skill. Like we might know the same tools, but someone might be better at this. And so I think hopefully people are going to collaborate more with each other, because AI creates this situation where you can just make something by yourself at home. But I have to say, it's way more fun for me to work with other people in a room and create together.
Great. You had a question, sir?
One of you mentioned that it cost $0 to make it. Obviously, the green room was, I don't know, maybe that's your living room or your back bedroom, but you may be a little different than the rest of us, but it didn't cost $0. But I'm just curious, all told, any estimate of your final production budget across everybody? What's that really look like?
Yeah, I actually did the math on that. I think it came out to like $500,000 if we were to actually have paid all the artists, did it traditionally, paid for the green screen, whatever. But I mean, that's kind of insane if you think about it for a feature film. $500,000, right?
50 artists, mind you.
Yeah, so it. Oh. Yes, actually, we almost worked with Troma. Troma would have been a great distributor for this film. You know, like B movies, definitely. That's like right up our alley.
All right, we're going to take one more question because Todd Terraza said wrap it the hell up. So we're going to go to this woman right here.
Hello, my name is Mariana, and I'm making games, and I'm learning a lot from you. Thank you for the panel. I'm curious how many more movie makers will be out there, and how your story will influence them, and what will be the outcome of publishing those movies, because there will be a lot of indie movies, so who will be watching them? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, like that's why we made this movie, right? We made this to show people like that this is possible. You can make your movie on a $0 budget, and you can show it, and you'll find your audience. I think, you know, the cream rises to the top, so the best things that are put out there, you know, will find an audience. So,
I agree. I think there's I think it's going to influence. I think there's going to be tons of indie filmmakers using it. There's something I'm doing. I can't like publicly say, but I'm seeing like filmmakers that have never used AI or using AI for the first time. I have my some of my films, AI films, that are being sold at Cannes right now at the market. So we'll see where it goes. But I only think we're gonna. I mean, you know, I don't know if you were here earlier, but they were talking about the hybrid model. And I think that's going to be a big thing, because, you know, like you might have a sci-fi story that you really want to tell, but you have an indie budget. And I think you can do that now with actors, which is pretty incredible. And you don't, even with some of the tools you have now, you don't even need a green screen. The green screen is actually created for you by using the tool. So you can shoot anywhere.
And just so you know, we had 50 artists on this project. A lot of them are now so busy with work because of this. Junie, actually one of our artists, won 3rd place at the AI Film Festival, Runway's AI Film Festival that just happened. And, you know, I think like, so it's hard to even get in touch with all these artists nowadays because they're so busy doing, you know, production, like all kinds of stuff. So that's just to give you an idea of like the potential of these types of projects and where it could lead.
And if you have questions, I know we're running out of time, feel free to come up to each of us outside there. Thank you.
We're all very approachable.
And check out our short films later tonight at 6. A lot of us worked on those, so yeah.
3 shorts. Thank you.